for global appeal, Dstv Showcase. Put your hands together. In moderating this panel session is none other than Mojibade Shosonya.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Okay, I'll take a step back to the edge of the stage and we'll act it again. That was the test run. Now the director's cut. Good morning, everyone. That's the final take. Thank you. As introduced, my name is Mojibade Shosonya. I'm a professional compere and a television presenter, and I'll be your moderator for today. I'm truly honored to do this. Welcome to AFRIF 2024. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here. Thank you. So without wasting any further time, I will introduce my very distinguished and accomplished panelists who will get on this conversation that focuses on crafting local content for global success. We cannot overemphasize how critical that is at this point, especially because we are the ones who tell the African story. So without much further ado, I will bring up our first panelist, and now in no particular order. I'll bring up a passionate and accomplished writer, producer, and director. Please make welcome Seyi Babatope. A round of applause for him, please. Thank you. I'd also like to make welcome on stage a filmmaker and the chief executive officer at Blink Studios. A round of applause for Chuka Ejo. Thank you. Good morning. Yes, no, don't sit next to him. Yes, thank you. I'd like to make welcome on stage a fashion entrepreneur and an award-winning costume designer. Make welcome the one, the only, Yolanda Okereke. Thank you. Good morning, Yolanda. Thank you for joining us on this conversation. Good morning. So you sit next to she. Yes. We're mixing it up. I'd also like to make welcome on stage the head of production, West Africa at MultiChoice. He wears several hats. Hold on, don't come up yet. He's a writer, director, producer, singer, handsome gentleman. Please make welcome Victor Sanchez Agahoa. Next to me. All right, so of course there's an empty seat. We have a special person who will join us very shortly, but without wasting any more time, we will get on with the conversation. And I think my very first question will go to you, Seyi. Hi, Seyi. How are you feeling today? Okay, we'll wait for sound. Okay, while we wait for that, just to reiterate again what we'll be discussing, I said we'll be looking at crafting local content for global success. And it is so essential. Even, I worked with a couple of companies who who branded themselves as born local, going global. So we as storytellers, we are the ones who bear the African stories. So even though we build here, we must build for a global audience, not just because they have to see it, but we must build it in a way that it's appealing, it's also successful, whilst not losing our own authenticity. So we'll get on with that conversation straight away. So Seyi, my first question to you is, you are a successful filmmaker, very accomplished also, who has been able to blend, the Hollywood style and the Nigerian story. You've been able to blend it well. How essential is it for us to maintain our authenticity, especially in terms of our culture, as we tell these stories?
Well, thank you for that. Hello, everybody. Thank you for making it out today. To answer your question directly, it is absolutely essential because it is the one thing that we do have. There was a filmmaker from India called Mira Nair. She made a movie called Mississippi Masala, Kama Sutra, and stuff like that. And she had this quote that says, "You have to make it incredibly local to make it accessible, incredibly international." And the essence of that is what we are. Hello. Like what we know is we know us. We have the nuances, the intricacies, the subtleties. We have understanding of all of those things. We have to do that with a level of clarity and artfulness that allows everybody else to understand who we are and what we are, and to be able to understand it and enjoy it. So it is absolutely pivotal in a very short sense. I mean, if you want me to elaborate on it, I can, but that's the key to unlocking everything else. Like, we have to devise a way and find a way to really tell who we are and what we are in the manner that can invite everybody else in it. And if I give you an example of a movie, came out a few years ago, I forget, was the Asian film with the Asian wedding, I forget.
Crazy Rich Asians.
Crazy Rich Asians, for example. I've never been to Singapore. I don't know anything about Malaysia, but I'm like, this is interesting. You know, this is like, well, actually, to be honest, I saw that film with Choma Ode that runs at Frith. We went to see it together, and when we saw it, she says, "Shay, I want to get married again." You know, but it's because there's something in that film that really showcased like what it's like. Asian culture is some of like the nuances of it. I mean, some maybe like also the class system of it. We have to tell those stories as intelligently as we can, and that's the way we are able to, get an international awareness and audience for our projects.
Thank you. A round of applause for him, please. Thank you. I completely agree with you on that, because ever since I watched Crazy Rich Asians, and I can quote that movie verbatim. I've watched it so much because I love how they portrayed the Asian culture. It was perfect, and that made Singapore my favorite country. I mean, I made sure I went this year, and I almost didn't want to come back. It was so beautiful. But yeah, very very great point. But let me just ask again. How do you think? So there's some people who are shy to tell the African story in an authentic way. So how do you think it should be told to appeal globally? So yes, we're saying let's craft local content to the global audience, but in what format and how should it be told? Again, we're sorry to cut you short. Again, we're maintaining our authentic culture. We don't want to lose that. So how should we package and portray it?
I understand the essence and the spirit of the question that you're asking, but in your question lies in the answer. Craftsmanship is an ability that is owned and learned in how to make a film. Cultural authenticity is just what that is. Now, how you decide to present that is the trick. Like Nigeria is not a monolith. There's lots of different things. Victor has, from Benin, knows more things about Benin than I could ever know. I'm Yoruba. I grew up in America, but my Yoruba-ness doesn't get diluted because I grew up in America, right? I mean, the essence of what we are and how we use skill and craftsmanship to really present that is what I think you're really asking. And that is now a component of, do you have skill as a filmmaker to put those things together? Because you can't tell everything at once. You can't throw in everything at the same time. You need to be able to have some type of subtlety and skill in what you're presenting and how you're presenting what you're presenting for the goal and objective to what it is you want to present. Like if I, for example, want to present a story of a market woman that is upset and there's a fight. We've all seen fights, either in Balinde or Shodi or whatever the case is, and know what that sounds like, right? But in the essence of, in the context of my story, what exactly am I interested in really portraying at that point in time, right? I know what it sounds like. Do I want to maintain the authenticity of what that is, right? Do I want to showcase the environment, whether it's the Molue and the area boys and the this and the woman that drives around with like, do you want to buy a bacha, whatever the case is? How you present it is just as important as what you're presenting. And the lens through which it is presented is what is going to have somebody come in. Because at the end of the day, we all tell stories with motion, picture, and sound. It's how we manipulate all these things together for something. And if my goal in this micro woman story is that here is a woman that takes care of her family through her grit, then I'm going to focus on that and let everything else just play out to be like, oh, so this is what it's like to be a human being trying to take care of your family, with this type of job, and that can connect to anybody else wherever it is that they're from in the world.
True. And I think I just speak one sentence from your answer. How you present it is just as important as what you're presenting, and that really answers it. So thank you very much, Shei. I'm going to come to you, Chuka. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's give a warm round of applause as I make welcome. She's now sat. Actress, singer, digital media strategist, beauty queen, Scarlett Gomez. A round of applause for her. Thank you for joining us this morning. All right, so my next question is to you, Chuka. The way you're looking at me, did I call you already? It's like you're ready for me. I'm ready for you as well. You know, you have over 20 years of experience, and that's interesting because you don't look a day over 18, but okay. You have 20 years of experience in the industry, and you've been at the forefront of creating content for both Nigerian and international audiences. Now, my question to you is, how do you approach blending authentic African narratives with universal themes to appeal? So almost similar to what I asked Shei, but from your own, perspective, how exactly do you blend it?
Well, thank you for the question. Yes, 20 years. I know I look quite young, but anyway. So I will. Shei has said quite a lot about that, so I won't go into that. But what I would maybe speak about is then certain things from my experience that I feel have helped in portraying our culture in a very good light with the international content. It's simple things like, we've worked together, Sanchez and I have worked together a number of things, but it's simple things like when you're working with actors, with the content you make, simple things like the language that's spoken. When actors speak the language that's their mother tongue or the language that they're most used to, there's already just that natural portrayal of whatever they're doing. That already adds to it. Yes, there's the thing with culture and what is authentic, right? Something that's authentic to me might not be authentic to Sanchez. So that's very subjective. But when a person, in the story that they're telling, is able to tell it in simple ways, like in the acting and with the language, just in telling it in the way that is most comfortable to them, you're already able to just get your message across to the international audience in a much faster and simpler way. That's just a very simple answer I will give.
Okay, thank you. I really like that you touched on, using our own local, Nigerian actors to tell Nigerian stories, because I do have a question on that at some point during the course of this panel, but I'll come to it. So thank you. Thank you very much, Chuka. I'm coming to you now, Victor. My question is about Africa Magic and, of course, what we've done so far. We've turned out a number of hit shows and masterpieces. We talk about Battleground, we talk about Ajoche, we talk about Teen Cell, and a lot more, right? How would you say that the approach to storytelling has evolved over the years, especially with the growth of streaming platforms such as Showmax in the African market and, of course, exporting African content into other African countries?
Hello? Okay, there we go. How it has evolved. I'm trying to give you the short answer.
Go ahead, we have time.
I would love to give you a big speech about all the things we saw and how we changed so many things. But that wouldn't be true. We've been doing this. I've worked with everyone, I think just about everybody here, independently as a producer for multiple decades before taking the position at MultiChoice. Simply because we've been telling African stories for that long. Now, if it's the question of how we present it to the audience, then I will tell you this. It's funny that Crazy Rich Asians came up as an example, because that film was made outside the Hollywood studio system. For that particular reason, a studio asked that the lead be converted to someone Caucasian. And so they raised the funding and made it outside the Hollywood system, then brought it back to Warner Bros. Why do I bring that up? Yeah, that doesn't happen at MultiChoice. And if we ever get to that point, then we've sort of lost our way. So thankfully we haven't. So from the MultiChoice point of view, then let us be that home where people can come and tell their stories. And yes, slight thing, this clamoring for the African story. Africa is not a country. Even in Nigeria, we have, last time I checked, 531 ethnicities. 647, if I remember correctly, languages. We are not a monolith, like I think you said it. We're not. The one thing we all are is human. Tell me a human story that I can relate, and then how that person lives is different from how I live. But then I see that, oh, we all go through the same thing. This is how they would handle it, how would I? Once you have that human connection, then everything else becomes more real.
But where does peculiarities come in? Because we do have things that are peculiar to certain people and certain things. So how do we embed that in telling our stories?
The funny thing about the human story is they all end the same way. Everybody dies.
Well, most people.
That's the human story. Everybody dies, right? The thing that's different is how we lived. And that's what culture is, how we live. But I'll give an example. In my culture, after you eat, you go and greet your father for providing food for you. And in this economy, I understand it now. I didn't like it when I was a kid, but I get it now. But you get what I'm saying? Like, my culture does that, another culture doesn't do that. But I don't think there's any culture in which kids are raised to be ungrateful to their parents, right? It's just we express it differently, but the sentiment is the same. Seeing it expressed differently in different tribes is what's interesting. Like, oh my God, that's how y'all do it? Oh, let me tell you how we do it. And that's what's important. Beyond showing somebody else's culture, it's us now having that conversation. Why do y'all do that? Oh, we do it like this. That's the conversation we fostered for 20 years, and that's what I'm most excited about.
Okay, thank you. Round of applause for Victor. Thank you. Scarlett, good morning. Yolanda, I'm coming. I'm keeping a very special question for you. But hi, Scarlett. Good morning.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I'm sure that most people forget your name and just call you Wura, just because it has stuck, right? Why do you think that is? I mean, you've played different characters, particular with Nigerians especially.
Okay, off what you said, I think for Wura, it's the story. The story. The story is everything. It's very original, very